KC monitoring the situation today in full uniform. Looks good. I believe we've got a quorum. Mitch, you want to open us in prayer and we'll press on from there.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for joining us today and guiding us in monitoring our community and building relationships. And Father, I pray you'll bring your peace among us, and I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, good morning. Thanks for showing up. Our luxurious shed operation as usual, which I hope nobody minds, but it's our building at the moment, so we utilize it. So, and the mower started, we were able to move it out. It was all good. I think we have to do something along the idea of elections. Is there anybody at the floor or anybody have anything to say or any nominations on the floor prior to closing the elections for the count? Since I don't hear anything, I'll just say that there's no additional nominees. We didn't have any nominees come in, and I think there were some questions of a rollover, which I don't know that there's even a rollover. We're going to do a ballot count and see who wins, and if all else fails, we'll continue with the same board unless somebody has some objections with that. So we'll look at the conclusion of the elections at the end, and Casey will sign it and verify it, and we'll press on from there. We did have several executive sessions this past year. All I can do is give you an overview of what the content was. Basically, one of them had to do with an annoyance that is continuing in discussions. We do have issues with the way the deed restrictions were written originally. They haven't been changed. If anybody would like to see things in the deed restrictions or the covenants they don't like, would like to modify those, please write a proposal. The board will review it. And then if that occurs and it goes to a vote, it goes to a system-wide vote. And I believe it takes 75% in order, or 66% for it to be approved. And all it is once it's approved, it's filed with the county and it goes into the records. But I knew how these deed restrictions were written in the beginning. It was a copy-paste operation. And there's some stuff in there that just doesn't make any sense and never has. The other thing that we've discussed is that, and I've been accused of not enforcing deed restrictions for years and years and years and years and years. And I would ask anybody to say, okay, how? Because we have no penalty phase, nothing. So we've discussed, do we need, if somebody's in violation, that's something that's we're looking at. Maybe if somebody's in violation or has had their letter and they got 45 days to remedy it. And if they choose not to do that, then we just charge them 10 or 20 or 25 bucks a day until they remedy it. That seems to have more teeth and produces more action in most HOAs than anything else. So those are items that we're discussing and talking about. And if that occurs, it'll also go to a system vote. So it's your community. You guys have to decide how you want this to run. We're still working on trying to get Ponderosa Drive taxiway Papa clear of obstructions, and the letters have been out and the time has expired, and we've got some remedies already, but there's a utility easement and there's a setback line. And all I would say to anybody that doesn't think that counts for the people that live on this side of the airport is take any low wing airplane and try to stay on center line and taxi from this corner of the airport to the other corner of the airport and see if you can do it and stay on center line. If you can't do that, there's an obstruction in the way. It's that simple. And I think, as neighbors, if you have direct runway access, good for you. That was not an original plan either here, because there was supposed to be a fence on either side of the runway, and then taxiway access was going to be through the taxiways, which would have changed everything. The original developer, the first thing he did was put in a lot that he owned over here and put access to the runway right off the lot. So that kind of went by the wayside. So we'll work with it any way we can. But the taxiways need to be clear. Yes, sir.
Hey, just out of curiosity, speaking about roadway taxiways, like you kind of mentioned, is there a procedure to request how are the improvements of the repaving been done? Is that through Honestly, is that for the community, the county, I mean, you know,
It's a county, these are county roads.
I thought so.
And we have banged on it. It's Brandon Decker that oversees all that. And as you drive from Walker County to any county, surrounding county, and you'll notice that the roads get really nice when you leave Walker County. And he's working with about a $350,000 a year budget to do all the county roads in Walker County.
That's about enough to pay on the roads.
Bingo. Well, and
It was
And-
400. It was 400,000.
400,000 to pay Ponderosa.
And precinct 4 gets 350.
I was
So
gonna say, well, maybe with, you know, the new houses going in off of Longhorn over there and some other things,
It's all, you know, and
I'm just curious.
trying to, if you try to take it private, number one, it's gonna be really expensive. Number two is you'd have to have agreements with both of those communities as well as this one.
No, just kind of curious about that.
and the drainage is too, because I contacted about drainage. So that's strictly HOA.
Yeah.
The drainage, they won't handle drainage, but they do handle the roads.
They have, when they do the roads, they'll generally clean out the
Cut the
ditches.
ditches.
They did that initially when they first put in the
They offered,
Brackets.
they offered to do that when, if we would have paid for the cost of the road.
yeah, it was, they were just gonna charge us for materials, and that's the number for the materials, and they were gonna provide the trucks and the labor and everything else to do it. So and we're still, all I can say is probably the best thing to do is keep petitioning them. We could do a petition and send it to him again, but he knows. I mean, I've talked to him multiple times. He says, if I had the budget to do it, I would do it tomorrow. They don't have the money, so.
Just curious about that. You know?
Yeah.
But we could go to their meetings,
Yeah.
and his boss is an electable position, so we have a pretty large tax base out here. I think we need to get on an email campaign, or maybe get a petition together, and then go to their meetings and do that, and let them know that. But we have the email addresses, and we'll be glad to share them with everyone.
So that's kind of like that, and the power line at the south end of the runway, which is comical because they came out and did an inspection this last spring, and I went out to the guys that were inspecting it, and he couldn't even tell me who owns it. And so there's Chico and what's the other one? Energy.
Energy.
Both, I think, sell electricity over that line, but neither one of them claims ownership.
So I bought that lot off of 150.
Right.
The owner of that lot, and I had him price as Entergy owns those lines. And I had him price from back by that tree line
Uh-huh.
to the Ponderosa.
Uh-huh.
It was $66,000 what they quoted me.
Yeah.
To bury those lines.
Yeah.
But it's Energy lines.
Well, Energy's line depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Yes, Josh?
Chico told me it was Entergy.
So when we had the operations committee that was active, I contacted FAA about the danger of that and the state utilities commission. And both of those entities will help us if we were a private with public use airport, but they will not help us. So the FAA will get involved in the issue of its danger if we were public use. So
Right.
I did talk to the FAA about that, since I keep the stuff updated with the FAA. I'm still the quasi-airport manager. So, and again, the Utilities Commission is the second place in Austin, or that we can appeal to for the potential for a danger to flight, but
The
we have
private
to
public
decide
use
if
is
we want to
the, is
be
the
private
challenge.
airport with public use, or if we're going to continue to be private.
Well, and we've looked into that, and we've got a lot of parameters that obstructions and a few other things that probably wouldn't comply with public use for the FAA.
Well, you know, when I had a couple of lengthy conversations, that's when I could actually get them on the phone. It's not really a chicken or egg thing. It's the egg is being public, and the chicken is that they will help us with the issues, removing the obstacles, or helping remove the obstacles at a lower cost. So that's just a few years ago when I got in touch with them. I can't tell you that is the case
I
today.
think the expense of the Well,
That
there's,
guy's
there's a
name-
lot to that formula that we've.
Well, there are other people
That
here
guy's
that
name
live
is
in
Don
public,
Harmon.
private airports, with public use. This is my first airport to live in, so maybe some of those people can talk to that issue.
I think the big thing, because I push for it too, is that they will have, I forget what they call it, they do a ghost survey or something it's called. So they come out here, and if anybody's fences or house or poles or trees, the FAA is going to require you to, almost like what they're doing in Huntsville right now. And they did it up at Cherokee County. They're making them tear down all of the hangars next to the runway, even though they're a long way away. So when they do their survey, anything that's out of the parameter of the FAA, you have to fix before you can go private with public use. But you just have to have them come out, and I don't know if there's a fee for that, if they charge you, or they just come out and do the survey. I think it would be, I personally think it'd be worth it to at least do the survey and see what they say. We have a huge runway. It's 125 foot wide, so I can't imagine many obstacles being in the way other than those power lines. But they will do the survey.
Covey Trails was public a few years back. We went through the whole process and they've got stuff a lot closer.
If Covey Trails can do it, anybody can, because they're so squashed in around. I mean, they had to lower that building, I think, was it on the north side where all the shopping centers are? They actually, one of those buildings, I think, the FAA made them redesign it or something because of their, yeah. But they will come out and look at it and give you that option.
All right, I'm gonna cut in here and get us out of the weeds for a little bit. We need to review the previous minutes and get those approved. So Pat will jump into that one.
It was June 21st, right here. Board members present: Lynn Nelson, Mitch Inman, Jay Adams, Eric Herzog, Mike Rawls. Also present were Cindy Nelson and Pat Rasco. Members present were Rusty Rasco recording the session, Ann Inman, Melissa Jameson, Toby Herzog, Deb and Tim Toll, Bill Hardy, and Brian Brooks. Lynn opened the meeting at 8:32 and noted that a quorum was met for any business that was to take place. New members were acknowledged: Dr. Malik, Anthony and Laura Robinson family, Monty and Holly Keum, which are in Lot W. Chase Collins had the 10 acres. Kevin Diebel is Lot 25, and Brian and Reagan Dirks are Lot 12, which was Dawn's house. Pat read the minutes of March 21. Mitch moved to approve. Jay seconded. The motion was passed. Treasury report. Cindy read the financial report for the second quarter to date. Mike moved to approve. Mitch seconded. Motion passed. Canceled construction from 2021. Lynn mentioned that litigation and mediation had been settled. Unable to discuss details, but some money was recovered. Did I miss something? ARC report was given. The current members include Michael Stefani, Tim Toll, Amy Laird, and Ted Creel. The current project is the Robinson Hangar. The board is discussing the responsibilities of the committee. HOA is required to have a registered agent. Ted Creel is currently, and board is checking into finding another since his last lot has been sold. Fire ant treatment was last applied in April and seemed to work. They are now showing up again, and as soon as weather allows, it will be applied again. Extinguish in orange oil, still available and no charge from the HOA. Contact Lynn or Pat to get some for personal use. Runway taxiway maintenance, both had total of 92 loads of sand and seed applied with a cost of $14,000 and was much needed. In particular, the Northwest Taxiway had the start of raising it to offset its flooding. The HOA sprinkler has been repaired and the leak at the south end of the runway was also repaired. HOA social committee was brought up, but there's no activity so far. Mower service and expenses. The HOA mower maintenance is complete and was done by John Deere in Huntsville. Jay oversees the mowing is overseeing the mowing by Eduardo's Lawn Service at a cost of $450 per operation. Any lot owner that wants to mow common areas should contact Jay or another board member. Jay will adapt the mower with a cover for shade. Water drainage concerns addressed. The owner culverts are both owner and HOA responsible. Texway EP, Edward Pop, excuse me. Needs attention. It is stopped up now. There are no delinquent HOA dues at this time. Ponderosa Drive is a taxiway all the way to the highway. Lynn cleaned up trees by the 10-acre lot. He also cleared the overhang and widened taxi access at the creek. Board still waiting on compliance of owner's mailboxes not set back for easement.
It's one that's got the whole.
Feral hawk control is ongoing. Also be aware of a stray pit bull, foxes, hawks, and vultures that are predatories of the small animals. Road condition and county update, they won't be doing anything but patching. Jay advised of plans to get a petition started and see if that works. Other points were discussed to try to get it to work. New business, the potential signage of airplane operations for neighbors to the east of us is still ongoing, but may need to talk to the new owner first. Pilots, watch for on the runway, foxes, dogs, deer, hogs, and now the new lawn service and all their mowers. If owners' animals are seen there, please document and report it to a board member. Water well maintenance, Jay offered his oversupply of PVC pipe to irrigate and add water supply. Also his wood for storage shelves. Eric offered his fan for the shed and will install. Lynn introduced Brian Dirks, who gave info about his family and the plans he has in the works. Jay inquired about status of entry garden at the Y. He moved to have Eduardo proceed with cleaning and ordering flowers. Mike seconded and the motion passed. Jay moved to close the meeting at 9:11. Mitch seconded, the motion passed. Respectfully submitted.
Any questions, additions, or pretty thorough?
And the flower bed's finished.
I don't think the water's fixed, the break at our.
It started again, I know,
Okay.
and I've already called them.
Okay.
I pressurized it, went down there, and we've got this leaching again, so, yeah, they're supposed to,
Only when I mowed, I was like, oh, we have a bunch of water here.
yeah,
So,
it's a little soft right
Yeah.
there. Yep. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as read?
Make the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Can I have a board member?
Yeah, board members need to do that.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Financial report. Clear your throat and be loud.
I'll try. I do have financial reports for second and third quarter if anybody wants to see them, but I'm just going to read the fourth quarter to date. Our beginning balance on November 30th, I'll get it right. September 30th was $43,874.79. We received $2,167 in dues, and our expenses have been $6,250.95. That's for water, electricity, labor was our big one at $2,980. Mower maintenance, oil for the mower, Nelson equipment use, supplies for ballots and postage, mainly those, our property taxes, and fire rate at $1,569.35. And our ending balance is $39,790.84. Sorry, I read that kind of thing, but
Any questions, additions, or corrections? Entertain a motion. Yes, ma'am.
could we buy a little reader board that goes up the corner that says, hey, we're having a board meeting, or we're having a community event, or something like that, that we could have over there on the corner?
We'll consider that here in a second.
Okay, I didn't know if that was part of finance.
No. Good point, though. A motion to approve the financial report.
Make a motion to accept.
A second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Amy, you got anything, you want to say anything about the ARC and I kind of have mentioned it to some of the board, but you know, the electronic means for review and approval and how we're doing that now?
Yeah, Tim and Michael Scovani and I met in person, one time, just so we could actually, see each other and talk in person, but, all of us are traveling so much that, we decided on ways we could work with each other through email and that kind of stuff, but then I talked to Lynn about, because most of y'all have signed mortgages via electronic signature and stuff these days, and so I found a free site, if you don't use it too much, where we can do electronic signatures, and it provides an audit trail. And I sent all that to Lynn and to the other ARC members, and everybody agreed that that should, with the audit trail and everything, it should be able to work. And so the three of us can work together really well now, even though a lot of times we're all over the place. So it's been working out well.
And we have another volunteer.
All right.
So if the board, we've had 4 on the ARC committee before, I don't see a problem with adding a 4th. So
I don't see a
Amy can make that so. Do we need a motion to do that? I don't think we do.
Probably not.
I can do that.
So that would give us 4 ARC members. Just add that on. Old business fire ant treatment. So, well, we spent a lot of money on fire ant bait. We treated it in the spring. We treated it in the fall. I would say 90% of the entire operation was covered. There were a couple of yards that were overgrown that I couldn't get into, but feedback from effectiveness. Are you still finding fire ants? I am. Not a lot, but I'm still finding
Mine's
some.
better, but I still got some.
That's
So-
ours is about 80% gone.
So I would say that we've had some good results from it. However, I think our big encroachment is all this development to the east of us. That's pushed stuff all over the place, and there were fire ants everywhere over there. So you find a mound and you kick it, and there's little ants in there with wings on them. Those are all queens, and all they have to do is fly 5 feet and land, and guess what? There's another mound. So that's how easily they can spread. If you're working with orange oil on stuff like a garden that you don't want to have any of the toxic issues on that end of it, orange oil does work, but you have to drench them maybe at least once or twice. And the fire ant bait that we use, which is extinguished, like everything else, it hasn't gotten any cheaper. So it is effective, but they have to be foraging. If you ever want to know if they're foraging or not, you can either sprinkle some on the mound and see if they come out and start gathering it. I had a trail on some concrete, and it was fascinating to watch. I just sprinkled it down there, and they recognized it, and it's the most organized system of stacking that stuff I've ever seen. They grabbed every piece of it in 45 minutes. It was all gone. They'd taken it to a little covered area and stacked it in a nice little pile for later use. And they're just kind of like watching bees. They're amazing little animals on how organized, and ants don't ever stop working. So we'll continue with that. There were some alternative. Sometimes I think that they may be adjusting to it. Extinguish is a sterilizer, where it sterilizes the queen, and then the mound usually dies from that. It's not a fast process. It takes a week or two for it to become effective. I don't have a good alternative. If anybody has any ideas on an alternative, I've looked at some of the other things that people have used, and this last year they became ineffective. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not a homeowner, but one of the things that some farmers that we've known have done is that if you will take, you don't have too terribly many mounds, if you will take part of a mound and put it on another mound and switch them, they'll fight each other to death.
That's true. If you want to, yeah.
If you want to go around
Yeah.
treat the mound with your.
They don't pay me enough to do that, so. That's kind of like if you have termites, you don't have fire ants. If you have fire ants, you generally don't have termites. They're arch enemies as well. That's fun to watch when you mix them together. Anyway, mower services and expenses. Our mower's getting older. It's been a pretty good mower, but both mine, which is a little newer model than the one that we have, they both have some cooling issues. And we've had to put seals and stuff like that. And it's just age more than anything else. O-rings that finally get. So the board is looking into alternatives, maybe even mower replacements down the road. Eduardo mows our 17 acres pretty inexpensively. But that also includes use of our big mower to help. And so we're going to have to probably look at either getting our heating problem taken care of in the interim, and then if we have to do a major expenditure on some, I would probably go with a used large area mower to replace it, something that's newer. But we've got 17 acres to mow just in runways and taxiways, and so, and that's what your dues are doing. They're maintaining the runways and stuff like that. So we're in the investigative stage at that point in time. If something does come out to where we have to make a major expenditure, we'll just let the whole neighborhood know and either get an approval or whatever we have to do on a big expense.
And so we asked Cindy to give us the last 3 years. So she went back and looked at the repairs. So from basically 2022 to now, repairs were a little over 15,000, and averaged out to about $37.50 per year. So is what it averaged out. So, and that's everything from repairs to greased blades and whatever. So it looks like now either the water pump's out, and we just recently repaired hydraulic leaks that were pretty bad. So we're having those guys out there pretty regular now, as you can see on our ground there.
Yeah. So we'll kind of see where that goes down the road, what we need to do on that end of it. If it's for what we gave for that mower initially and how long it's lasted. I mean, we've done relatively well.
It's an 02?
Yes.
What's on the side?
So that's 24 years old. We gave 20,000, I think, for it. I found it used. It was a turf mower for football fields. And if you go out to buy a mower, at the time that was bought in 2002, I believe it was an $80,000 mower. Equivalent mowers of that style now are $100,000 to $150,000.
That same mower, we priced it out, that same mower, $86,000.
Yeah.
To the door.
With a discount.
And most of the other brand mowers, of the good quality, run within $3,000 or $4,000 of one another for that. You can actually we actually did a little bit of pricing on some other things. You can get a couple of the Spartan, which is a good one. It's a spin-off of Bad Boy. You get 72-inch mower for $18,000, a diesel 40 horsepower one.
And those are new prices.
And those are brand new prices, yeah. So in theory, you could get two of those and, come out a whole lot less. Or a Kubota tractor of the front mower deck type, $25,000 to $28,000, diesel 40 horsepower, same way. So it's kind of the same, doesn't have the bat wings, but 72-inch cut there as well. Just to give you an idea on the prices and what we're looking at. Because we've spent $15,000 in the last 3 to 4 years.
And the John Deere has an 11-foot path, and it's pretty maneuverable for most of the stuff. You get two 6-foot mowers that, you've got two mowers, but you also have zero turn, the flexibility of moving them around a lot better too. And then you have a backup if all else fails. So two of those mowers would probably mow as much as the John Deere and have the option. So we're trying to figure out what the wisest way is to go on that end of it right now. So water sprinkler maintenance, the sprinkler's been, yes, sir.
Jay, how long did it take you to knock that down with your bat wing?
With my bat wing?
Yeah, your tractor.
Oh, about 3 hours if I did everything.
Bat wings work, and they're used a lot, and we had a big pushback on the bat wing initially because the runway had buckled and had high spots and low spots. And then the other thing is they complained about the gouging in the runway. When you turn a bat wing mower, you have to raise it.
Yeah.
And so we had some operational issues that got everybody up into a flurry about how to operate a bat wing mower. They didn't know what they were doing with the bat wing mower was the bottom line. A lot of private airstrips all around the United States use a big bat wing type mower. Depends on what they're throwing as well, but.
Those are full-wood tractors, correct?
But you have to have a
You got a
tractor.
tractor.
So the tractors could leave.
And my tractor makes short work of that thing. My batwing mower does a very nice job mowing. Problem is when it's damp outside and when the runway is a little bit wet, that tractor is 8,000 pounds, and it will make short work of it. But you can't cut when it's wet because it makes with the cleat tires on there, it makes little indentations. If it's dry, it's okay, and I'm happy to do it. But I think we need to be self-sustaining with it.
Yeah. And the cost of the tractor and the batwing mower like that is not cheap either, say the least. So we're doing evaluation on that, and hopefully we'll come up with some answers to that to keep everything going. The water sprinkler maintenance, the sprinkler itself, we've been very fortunate this year to have a lot of rain. We've totally had it rebuilt and resealed. We're still looking at an in-ground system. We don't have any estimates yet, but we're still looking at that because that would reduce the workload on watering the runway a bunch. What else was I going to say?
Did we give the report on the last inquiry that we had with the folks over in Brenham, what they came back with?
I haven't. I don't know. I haven't had anything feedback.
Eric was handling that. You want to tell them what they told us?
Yeah, I think the guy was just overwhelmed. They just weren't set up to do what we were asking them to do. And he finally, after several meetings and kind of him hauling around, said that it's above and beyond their abilities. And they do ag irrigation more. So I think he kind of referred us to, y'all need to look at a golf course or something like that. People that install them for golf courses. They just, and I don't think he understood, the valves and the number of valves, because when we talked to him, I think it just went beyond what the scope he could do. Yeah.
They did mostly above ground.
Yeah.
Sprinkler systems.
Yeah. And to have switching valves and all of that underground, he finally just told us, look, it's out of my ability to do. And so we backed off of them. We never did get a quote from them.
John?
So when we were meeting as a committee for airport operations, we actually have two companies that were golf course irrigation companies. We got quotes from them at the time. I'm sure that those amounts have gone up, but the companies who came out and surveyed the area were doing it based on a golf course with large sprinkler heads. It's in roughly the $50,000 to $60,000 range for a complete system, an automatic system for the whole runway complex. So I'm sure that is a little dated, but I do have the names of those companies based on our committee reports. If that's interested.
John, could you share those company names with Eric and I?
Yeah,
So
I
we
just
can-
have to look up the minutes and get the two companies that I solicited. They came out and looked at the area, but they are golf course irrigation companies.
With pop-up sprinklers, right?
Yep.
Cool. Underground?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. No, not ag sprinklers on the side of the runway.
Cool.
We know how that went.
Yeah, well, this other place wanted to do the same thing, so we didn't need that. So, we'll get on top of that, looking at it, because we need to do that for this spring.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And then we'll figure out how to pay for it. Then we'll figure out how to pay for it. So, and I don't think we have anybody delinquent on. Nobody's delinquent on dues. Everybody's been doing great on that.
I think most of us probably would be willing to, it would take a vote by the members, but, when we get a really hot summer and it starts to crack up on the side and get the big, crevices that get on the side of the runway and you have the taxiways think most of us would probably be willing to contribute to a special, I mean, I'd like us to know that we have the best grass possible, which is why I pursued that when I first moved here. So we'd have to put it to the vote. There are people that don't live on the runway and don't fly. We have to understand how people feel about that, but, I think that's worth exploring. So, sorry, that's a little bit off topic, but.
Well, and
I
there's,
know when you said money.
there's multiple ways you can address that. You could do, by the covenants, there's a special assessment for high expense items. There's also ways you could do fundraisers or whatever else on that end of it, or at least let the word out that we're specifying a fund specifically for a sprinkler system. And if you want to donate to it, which that, those that are interested in it might be willing to pay more than those that aren't interested in it. But there's multiple ways that we could potentially finance that. So.
Well, I've been working, I did that 6 years ago, so I think it's one of our priorities. I mean, we're doing fine now, but I think we could move to the next level of having our grass the kind of quality that we'd like and not get the big crevices that we get on the side of the runway.
Well, the crevices aren't the problem. The problem is the way the soil expands and contracts and it buckles.
But
And so
once it stays wet,
moisture stability is the key to black gum.
right, but once it stays wet, it doesn't do that. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
Absolutely, 100%.
that's been that way for probably for hundreds of years. So, there's still a process, I think, Amy, on web polling for items that we can distribute amongst, and that I'm probably going to try to get more proactive in doing that. But ideas that people have, and we can poll the neighborhood and maybe get some seeds started there to where we can get more feedback and more participation. But there is the Lairds have done great work on putting some stuff in the website to where we could possibly do that. The registered agent issue, which has been around for quite some time, honestly, it's a piece of paperwork you sign with the state. It's state paperwork. Ted's basically AWOL on that entire process now, and I don't think he really pays too much attention to it. And so either I'll sign it for Ted. I used to do it. I don't know that there's really any liability to it. The key thing is knowing when the paperwork has to be filed with the state and get it assigned to them, so you don't get penalized $25 because you're late.
I've been taking care of that, so if you want me to do it.
So Cindy's been doing it anyway. If I don't have a problem with that, if we want to just take care of the paperwork through that, and if Cindy wants to do that, that's fine. Anybody have any other discussions or thoughts on that? It's strictly a matter of letting the state know our income and our outflows, and we're not taxed on it.
Who the board members are, all that.
Yeah, it's a list of the board members and all that kind of
You can
stuff.
always do it at the state LLC, not pay any tax at all.
We don't pay any taxes anyway.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we don't pay any
Yeah,
taxes at all. In fact, that was a fight
As
that I
a
went.
nonprofit or as a HOA,
It's an HOA issue, and then it was kind of like the runway and taxiways. They wanted to tax us initially on the same rate that all the landowners had here. I managed to get that into ag, so we pay $38 a year for a runway.
$31.88
Or
actually.
188
No,
and
$31.88.
3188 for our taxes for the 17 acres for the runway and all that. So.
Did we do that one yet?
Well, I talked a little bit about it before. The deed restriction updates is something that is just going to take somebody to come up with, looking at the deed restrictions and see what needs to be modified or changed, and present it to the board, and then we'll kick it out and for discussion with the homeowners. That'd be a good place for a lot of these deed restriction discussions for the web polling site.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
You mentioned that, you have no, teeth in it, you can't say, you're doing this in violation, you're gonna get a fine for $75 a day. Would that fine have to be as a whole, the covenants have to all be altered, or can you just have like an amendment to them?
anything we do to the covenants or the deed restrictions will be considered an amendment. But it just goes into the documentation.
So you couldn't, like, this meeting or the next meeting, vote on that?
That's
And
Well,
pay just a fine, or,
Well, even if you had a proposal for punitive action for enforcement of covenant or deed restriction violations, you would have to have it in basically a proposal in writing. It would go to the board, be approved, and then it has to go to a system-wide vote to even move forward from there. Once the entire HOA, 66% or greater, approve it, then it just is a matter of taking the paperwork to the county and putting it in the documents.
so it would take 2 years to get it done?
Oh, no. It's just a matter of getting somebody willing to do it. And I've been asking for this for ever. And to get somebody to make a proposal and move forward with it. And I made a proposal over 10 years ago. And it fell on deaf ears and nobody took any action on it. So what do I do?
What do you think about this? Why don't, Eric and I have been talking about it, Mitch, a little bit. I think it would be a prudent thing to do to get a real estate HOA attorney for guidance on these things. Give him a copy of our HOA rules and let him give us some guidance. Tell us what we can do, how we can do it, and the proper way to do it. Let it be all drawn back up and either introduce it for vote in sections or all at one time. That way, whoever's on the board, whether it be this board or another board, then those board members are protected from personal lawsuits. They're also, it's made sure that we are doing things correctly and within the confines of HOA law, and they're enforceable.
John?
So I absolutely agree with you, but I will caution, I read the covenants and restrictions yesterday, just to remind myself what they are. And I went through each of the lists, and I would encourage all of us to be careful what you ask for, because there are a lot of breaches of that. You know, there are things that stick us in the eye about people with breaches, and then there are little subtle things that are breaches. So once we start down this path of throwing stones at people for something that we see as a breach, then we all of a sudden open up a battle pointing out every mistake. And at this point, I'm really happy that the people that used to file lawsuits against each other are no longer here. I'm happy to come and listen to this meeting and just stay quiet, except that what I don't want to do is start to see this neighbor fair where we're pointing out everybody's mistakes. You know, some are obvious and some are not, but once we start that, I think we wind up creating a lot of hard feelings. So right now we have probably the most calm, peaceful neighborhood association. And, you know, if Beetle says, hey, you know, that light that comes on at night is blinding me in my, you know, I can see that light on the back of your house. When it flashes on and off, I just got up there on a ladder and took it down. You know, so I think there's some of this that can be worked out by common discussions rather than getting an attorney involved. I mean, as a doctor, last thing I'd want to see is any attorney.
Well, and I agree 100% with that. And what I have seen is that, for example, is there any doubt in anybody's mind here that you should be able to taxi down Papa Taxiway, Ponderosa Drive, from one end to the other with no obstructions? That's a right. Now, there are those that will argue that their mailbox, they have a right to have their mailbox out there in that right of way. But that's not.
Those things, I think some of us have probably, there are ways for some of us to influence those topics without it becoming a fight. If we knew the ins and outs, all I know is.
All I can say is this has gone on for
I understand
20
that.
years, and we sent letters out to all the individuals. We followed the process. And when somebody comes up to me and says, well, you can't enforce anything. What tool do I have to enforce that?
You're absolutely right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because when there's something that's safety of flight.
Or
100%.
simply a right.
No, I agree with you, but hitting your wing destroying, I mean, my Navy on, those mailboxes are the exact height of the intake of my tip tank. So if I were to do that, I have to really be careful. So I'm not disagreeing with you.
So that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to tell you that your grass is a quarter of an inch too high, or move the refrigerator that you're fixing to throw away next week that's sitting outside, or that kind of stuff. We just want to, the few rules that we have, we want to have a path to go, okay,
I agree with you.
this-
I'm
a
100%.
blatant violation of this, it's an inconvenience to everybody. We need a way and a path to enforce it.
I'm with you. I understand. You know, like I said, I moved into a house that people had sued the neighbors across the runway. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, what have I done now? You know?
So I got 2-minute interjection here because we talk about this every time we have a board meeting. So I personally, and I maybe speak for others, but I know personally I got on the board not to tell people how they do their stuff. It was mainly for safety, and I'm looking at aviation safety. I know Jay is. We've discussed it. I know all the board members have discussed this. So when you get a letter like this right here from a homeowner, that it would be an awesome read, but we're not allowed to let y'all, when we have a complaint against somebody, you know, people say, well, we don't know anything that's going on. We can't just go out and say, hey, everybody, we're talking to Joe Blow, and but this is total BS right here, legal BS that was given to us for an infraction. And when you read this, and this is his argument too, it's so what do you do? Okay. And again, the light thing is great. Go talk to your neighbors. I try to talk to everybody. Fix it before you sue, because this is great out here. Y'all know where I come from. Wolf Air Park was crazy. But what we did do is we hired an attorney and we rewrote our covenants. And at that point, we were able to go from 100% to 70. It was 30 years. So once we got 70, most of the homeowners were in compliance and saying, or in favor of saying, if it's a safety related issue, animals on the runway, horses walking on the runway, four-wheelers. Just the other day, you made a phone call, and I did too, and I got called all kinds of names because a kid was doing about 90 miles an hour through my property. And everybody knows if you cross this property over here, that's private property. And I let y'all, and I don't care. But me and Steiger own that cul-de-sac, and everybody comes over to visit Rusty, and I don't even care. But when you go through it at 90 miles an hour, and you're a kid, and you got I think you were complaining about music, and then people say something, that's a safety violation. So really, for me, it's really about safety, and animals on the runway has been a problem. We have numerous houses with animals on the runway, and you're not going to stop that without getting some legal counsel. Just you know, what we did at Wolf, we got a lawyer, and he told us these are the things you can and you shouldn't do, and then we were able to rewrite our covenants, and that ended all of that, you know. So again, I love the fact, and I've cautioned everybody up here, you don't want to get into that sue fest again. That's no fun. You know, people walking into your house while you're building it, you know, things like that. But I think the power lines, the water on the runway, the lights, animals on the runway, and I know we have no leash law in Walker County, so your dog can run freely on the runway. But if I hit it, I can freely sue you civilly for a lot of money. That leash law doesn't allow you to let your dog run on the runway. So those are the things I think, at least me personally, I'm just looking at aviation safety. Yeah. I don't want to tear up my airplane. I think just recently they had a bush plane, a young lady and one of y'all gave us that article, and a man was landing, dog run out in front of him, deviated, and I think it killed both of them. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we need some assistance from a HOA lawyer to say you can or can't do. But you know, we have this deal about 5 gallons of gas. Geez, man, I mean, I got 500 in my airplane, so we want to make some of those better for everybody to where, you know, you can do those. By all means, you know, talk about a light on, you know, call your neighbor and tell them, you know, there's nothing wrong with calling them and saying, hey, your dang light's on, you know, can you turn it off?
What we're wanting to do here with this is just give us a path to help
Yeah,
this
because
airport. be
because
safe.
this stuff right here, I mean, we have no teeth. We can't do anything about these mailboxes other than ask, please move the mailboxes.
How many
And
mailboxes are involved?
I like 4.
There's 3 left.
Yeah.
3 left.
Three people have done that.
And right now, I'll be honest with you, there are avenues for people to get around those. So it's kind of that deal. But still, what do you do if it's an aviation safety issue? Those power lines, those mailboxes, the roadway, the taxiways, and things like that. That's really, as an aviation community, that's important. And every time somebody buys out here that doesn't have an airplane, they're not going to vote with us, okay? So it's important that if there's only one person flying out here, like Chad Tooman in Pearland, everybody on that runway, 30 houses, one pilot, everybody has to pay for that runway. And, that's what we're out here for. So the more people that don't fly, the less they're going to vote for these kind of things. So if you don't have a fine schedule of something to have a little bit of teeth, and then what do you do? And I mean, I don't want to go down that road either, but you have to have some means of having people comply. And the lawyer we got, he was able to look at the legally. He just looked at it and said, nah, this ain't good, this ain't good. And then if it went to court, the odds of the HOA winning are higher than losing that type of battle. So for me, it's just aviation safety. I don't care, anything. I'll be honest with you. I like the animals out there. My grandkids love them, but we got animals right on the runway. Okay, right on the runway, and if one of them gets out, it's going to be bad. Somebody's going to hit it, and what do you do then?
And we have deer and hogs.
Yeah, you got to look. You always got to look.
And foxes.
I don't think you're gonna find anybody disagree with what you just said, safety.
Well, and that's the common sense of this whole thing. It's kind of like, the ARC, and people wanted to nitpick people on what they were building out here. And I'm sorry, but every home out here is a custom home.
Right.
Build your dream.
My question is, how do you draw the line in the sand so that we don't ever go to that place where, your grass is a quarter inch too high?
Well,
I think that's board members at that point.
and that's,
You know.
I don't think.
Select board members that don't get nitpicky on stupid stuff. Yeah,
What you're talking about.
yeah.
It's in the book. I'll have to.
I came from Sport Flyers, and we just went through all this, spent the last 2 years going through this exact same thing, because that neighborhood was built, and there was no teeth, there was no fee schedule, there was no avenue to cross that bridge. So at that point, everything we say as an HOA is just a suggestion, right? So what we did to change that is to have, we voted in a change to the deed restrictions that allowed the board to pursue a fine, and then you approve a fee schedule. And then we just made the length of time between when that letter's sent out to when we can find somebody, a longer period of time. I think they picked 90 days. So then there's really nothing that you can't correct in 90 days, and then like the board thing with the grass, it's very simple. If the board is acting authoritarian like that, you just have to hold a vote and remove the board and put new members in, and it's very simple.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. If you have somebody.
Yeah, if you got somebody that's abusive like that, run them off, man. Run me off. I don't care, because I'm not going to get into that. I just want to make sure. And I'll be honest with you, the truth of it is, the odds of one of these animals along our runway, there's 3 families that have animals, of them jumping out are probably pretty low, right? Really, pretty low. I got the loudest airplane on the runway, and I hadn't spooked one out. But if it happens, but then what happens if 30 other runway houses get handled? Because right now you're saying they can have them, okay? So why can't I have them? Why can't I fence it in and put my cows out next to mine? And eventually that's what will happen, because you've set the precedence. So you have to draw a line in the sand on the safety side of it. Personally, my grandkids love kangaroos. Every time they come over, I got to take them down and look at the kangaroos. But where does it end? When can I not have animals? You know, when can y'all not all have animals? And just where does it end? You
And
know,
that was in a proposal over 10 years ago.
yeah, I know, and
You know,
and I
so-
read about all.
So
when I
that's
got
my
up
whole
here.
point. And then the other thing you'll run into, since we have precedents here, we have a lot of precedents here. So you got to be careful about that too. Are you going to take people's rights away because they've been living that way for years and years and
I
years?
think that's something that lawyer has to at least tell you. You know,
Yeah, but every civilization has to abide by a certain amount of rules. We don't want to take your life and your preferences away. We just want to enhance safety out here. Animals on the runway are not safety. We want
But
to.
that's already in place.
Well, we
It's
gotta-
already in place.
We gotta have an enforcement.
And the
schedule.
setback, well, and that's the point. The setback was in place. The animals on the runway is in place. But we have no enforceability unless you take them to a lawsuit. And that's my issue, is I've already seen this place go bankrupt
You don't
before
wanna
because of
do that.
lawyers. And as I will resign if people decide they want to get sued out here around here.
yeah, I will
Because
too.
that is not the way to go. The only people that win on those, 99% of the time, is the lawyers.
Right.
Period.
Amen on that one.
Beetle?
I'd
like to redress something, bear with me, I'm just trying to get a voice back right now. You've already addressed the condition of the Ponderosa and the fact that it is in fact a legal taxiway. And my caveat to that would be, you better have a tail dragger if you go down there. I got an RV6A that does not have crop tip clearance that will clear the humps and the lumps. We still got patches held together by a little bit of asphalt.
Mhm.
So I would encourage everybody here to collectively, let's start putting pressure on the county. I know they only got $300,000 this year, but we're about to come into a new year. We need to put some pressure on these people. Get them off their butt. I was the third house out here, and when this thing was built, Ponderosa was a wagon trail. And it stayed that way for 3 years. We do at least have asphalt now, but it's getting to be a poor excuse for it. And if somebody tries to make that a taxiway with a tricycle gear airplane, better be doggone careful.
So just so you know, that pressure was applied 10 times more than you think this last year.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
And
but,
so-
but we
but-
can't do it in one time. We
Well-
need to continue.
There's no doubt, and they know, and I've talked to
And
them,
we got some rock,
and we got some.
and that's it right there.
Well,
So,
trust me, my
so,
wife-
so it's a
with the bus.
continuing process, and I appreciate your emphasis on that, but it is not going away, and it may take some, more paperwork and maybe
It
some
has
more
personal
information.
contact from the individuals here. It doesn't necessarily have to go collectively. We should do it collectively. But
Well,
then
the
if you
individual-
wanna pick up the phone,
The individual
All of
contacts
us
have been
file.
taking place.
hey,
Yeah.
next time this comes around, put some effort on it.
So-
The effort's been applied
Yeah.
for the past 2 years,
So
every
Bill,
time.
my suggestion would be, yes, everybody do that. My wife has a monthly, if not a bi-weekly email schedule with Brandon Decker. She's been working very hard with that. She's the one
Pass
that
his
got,
email to us.
she's one that got the meeting with Lynn and her and Brandon to do this, which in turn got him to the point where he would offer to do provide the equipment and the labor. But like I said earlier, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and we all need to get on board and start putting some pressure on him.
And we helped get him elected out here.
Because there's a very large tax base on this.
Yeah, I know.
On this
I had-
airport
I had
property.
used that to pay it. I'm very familiar with it.
And Eric has got all the tax information on what the taxes the people pay out here, and we need to put that together in a petition and then go to those meetings where Brandon and his boss and all the county commissioners are, and, respectfully let them know that we're not going away, along with emails from each individual person out here. Hey, we have a large tax base. These roads are bad.
Even
Get
if
more-
we
get
get him
more
to
money
do
appropriated
25% a year.
for your county and your precinct, because that's, quite frankly, that's Brandon's job, to get more money appropriated as this county grows.
Yeah.
Without increasing our taxes, because we already pay a lot of taxes out here.
Yes, we do. No
So
doubt about that.
the sections, I even went to the point to measure the sections that, if they just did the sections that haven't been done so far and did an overlay and met everything up. And we even went to that point. I went and walked the entire neighborhood. I measured exactly how many feet it was. And I said, well, to drop that expense down, all you have to do is fill in these spots, because all they did when they did the little bit on Longhorn Loop and a little bit over in Ponderosa Drive was, it was excess material. I had people looked at me and said, well, you got the front of your place paid a section of it. I go, I had no knowledge of it. That morning I went out there, I go, what are you people doing? Well, we had some left over and we're doing it. Well, did they do the whole thing? No. In fact, Amy knows exactly how rough it is by my house because she rides a bicycle.
Yeah, a bunch of concrete.
So
And
you know,
9-inch transitions. I
this
mean.
is something that's going to be ongoing. Even if we had this entire thing paved tomorrow, in 10 years, we'd be back in the same boat again because
I
of the way this.
started the power line fight 21 years ago.
Oh, I know.
Nothing's been done.
I know.
So we gotta stay with it. We can't quit.
Yeah,
Agree.
I agree.
Is there an avenue to, if the airport was to do public use, to use FAA money to repair the taxiway?
There is.
There probably is.
But then you become under we've been down this road.
Yeah.
The guy that, one of my first tasks out here, the guy's name is Dan Hartman. He's over in Austin. He's head of the Texas Airport Commission. And we determined at that point in time through quite extensive conversations that I don't think it would be in our best in the whole board's interest at that point to take this place public, because there's a lot of other liabilities.
There was more negative than there was positive.
Right.
You need a tower if you do that, because there'll be 50 flight school airplanes in the tower.
You know it. They'll all be coming in here.
Soft field landing practice and
We
everything.
used to have to introduce a flight school that came up here all the time too.
There's 6 of them down in Conroe right now.
Just listening to Avasoda any day, and it's
I really appreciate the feedback, and we've had some great discussions, and I'm going to try to move us towards the election results if everybody's okay with that, just to see where we're at. Yes, ma'am?
There were no write-in votes, so the current board will be the 2026 board.
Okay.
No changes.
You're stuck.
Like,
damn it.
like I've been told many times before, yeah, we'll double your pay again. Yeah. Any other questions or discussions on any topic? I think we've covered. Go ahead.
I have one thing. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Anthony. I built the White House down here.
President.
I run a nonprofit. It's called Veteran Aviator. We put veterans through private pilot training. And at our last airport where we live, every year in May, we do a fly-in. I just wanted to put a bug in everybody's ear. I haven't gone through the deed restrictions. I don't know how anybody feels out here about that, but typically there's a few hundred people. We have a band, barbecue. Obviously, everybody is invited. It's a fundraiser to put veterans through private pilot training. Again, it's in May. I'd like to have it here at my new hangar. I would like everybody to have time to think about it, discuss it, and the board talk about it or not.
We've done some things like that before, and as far as what it requires you have to do a liability release form for people, and they need to show that they've got some insurance to land here and stuff like that. And personally, I don't have a problem with it. If it helps veterans, I'm all in. So when you get ready to do that, just make a proposal to the board, and we can discuss that, and then give you a step sheet of what it takes to make it happen. I love it. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, me too.
It's loud and obnoxious, but I'll knock it down.
That's okay. We're all party animals.
We're all for that. So
No, that form is actually on the website too.
yeah, the form's on the website as well. The liability limited release form.
Okay.
And each airplane, if they're flying in, probably needs to fill one of those out and give it to Pat, so we've
Yeah.
got it on file.
And then just get a copy of their declaration page on there.
Yeah, on their
On their
insurance.
Okay.
That's all you
Sadly,
gotta do.
a lot of people don't fly in, but a lot of people.
And that's okay too. And then, it's kind of like we do have open lots here, and if you need places to park cars, all you have to do is ask. we've had weddings out here. I've had a couple weddings out here, so.
Yeah, if you need places to park, there's some land right there.
And there's some land over there, and there's some other land over there. I mean.
And we got a couple
places
of
for
golf
parking.
cart stuff, and we'll be happy to run people back and forth down there for you and stuff.
And then even the community property here, if you decided to set up a tent and wanted to do something, you could do it there, or you could, I mean, Dr. Malik, I'm sure wouldn't care if you had a tent sitting out there I mean, we can make it happen.
Okay.
So, anything else? Cynthia has one more thing.
Chrissy Butts, is organizing social activities for our group, which I think would enhance our getting to know each other and everything. So there's a sign-up sheet if you all have, something you'd like to do. There's like the 12s do the pancake breakfast, which is awesome. And we have done a progressive dinner before, and Chrissy was thinking maybe in January that would be good. So if there's anybody that would like to organize that, please sign your name anywhere you want, if you have an activity you want to do. It doesn't have to be just for women, it could be for the whole community, however you want. But anyway, the sign-up sheet is over here,
There will be a fish fry sometime. I don't know when.
so we'll figure that out.
I've done that before, so.
But
Even when the fishing wasn't great, I've done fish fry. So, if you like fish. If you don't like fish, we can have something else too. Any other thoughts?
And I have a question about the map we have that has all the names of lot owners,
Uh-huh.
contact information. Do we have an update on those?
I'll get a new, directory.
We need to update the
I'll
directory.
update the directory. I think it's updated,
The directory is on the website.
Okay.
That's all current.
and I don't know about the map, if we have one that lists everybody's name on it or not, but we can update that and get it
I
on.
need that because I can't remember names, so I know some of the.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Who are you?
When your name hit that, it's gonna start.
Yes, has everybody signed in this year?
Well, I know who they are that I don't have signatures for.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you haven't signed Pat's sheet over here, please do.
Move to take a motion for adjournment.
Congratulations to your new hangar. I'm moving stuff down there. He's got plenty of room now.
Yeah, more storage.
Looks very nice, yeah. Anybody got a shed they need to get rid of? I bought their little one. Take another one.
My only question is why they have to start at 5:30 in the morning?
They don't start at
Just saying, if I can
Somebody
change
was
the
out
schedule.
there.
I'll second the motion.
No, that's in there,
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say,
lots
it's
of
not-
lots.
I guarantee you it's not our people.
Okay.
All right.
Going in.
There was a motion on the floor to adjourn this meeting. I have a second. Kim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, this is a great place to live. Thank you for making it that way.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Guys.